everyone, welcome to tutorial 4. I'm so excited about this. So the first part of this tutorial, we're going to be starting with doing some veins, and then we'll go on to some mottling layers. So before we really get into it, please, I'm going to ask everyone if you can please make sure you subscribe to me. I found out not long ago that I think it was like 80% of my viewers aren't subscribed. And that is a big part of me on YouTube, is having subscribers so you can see what I do and when it happens and everything. So please, if you haven't subscribed yet, just there's a little button down there. Just click it. Doesn't cost you anything. And it just helps support me as an artist doing all this for everyone. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So yeah, with veins. Now, I've spoken about this before. I don't do a lot of work on veins anymore. I used to when a few years ago, but I found since with the mottling and things like that, it generally gives like a lot of activity in the skin anyway, and sometimes the veins just seem to, fade to nothing. But some people really love them. So for those people who really love them, we're going to work with you right now and show you a few things of how to do it. So if you don't want to do veins, I'm going to put like a number down the bottom of that screen, and the number at the bottom of that screen is the number that you've got to jump to, the time that you've got to jump to begin the mottling. But if you want to watch the veins, I still suggest to give it a watch and then see what you want to do yourself after that, because there's pretty exciting things. The first thing I'm going to show you is some pictures of Amani. Okay, so in a moment, I'm going to show you through a bit of a slideshow of Amani. Now, these pictures are of my grandson, who is now 17 months old, which is absolutely the perfect age for us when we're working on our toddler baby. Now, looking at Liam is pretty much the same size as Amani is now. So it is perfect. Now, Amani is indigenous, but he has the perfect Caucasian skin. You wouldn't really be able to see it, basically. So, he can go for all different aspects of different ethnicities. Really, can't he? Maybe. No, but anyway, he's the perfect Caucasian. So let's have a look through them right now. So there's a few photos that we're going to look through. Photos from hands to legs, to his face, to his ears. I want you to take great care and even pause the screen if you have to. If you see something that comes up that really sort of, takes your eye, because I find some people's eyes get drawn to certain aspects of the skin that others don't. So take your time to look through all the pictures. I tried to take these pictures of Amani in the best light I could, and with him as still as I could. But as you know, trying to keep a toddler still at any time is a huge feat. It's really hard. It was really hard to get him to sit still as it was, and I didn't have the absolute perfect lighting. But you can pretty much see he doesn't have that much veining that is that visible, and that's because they've got that chubby sort of baby skin all over them, really, that really covers some of the veins that wouldn't even be visible, that might be visible on an adult skin. So you will see down on his wrists, there's not, that you can see a darkening, like a purpley colour or a bluey colour, but not so much the actual lines of the veins. The only places I really found that you could really find the lines of the veins were in the ears, at the sides of his feet, and at the top of his forehead. And most of those were actually your really tiny red capillaries. So you will see when I'm working with the paint that I'm actually going to be working with the blue vein. But it is quite likely and well to do to actually work with a red vein as well. So working with the both colours is really good. Now, hopefully all those photos have gone through in me yapping, but if they haven't, I'll just sort of whack some music in there, hey? And you can get back to this baby. Okay, so when I'm looking at working with Liam, like I said, I really don't want him to have a lot of veining just because I like the mottle effect. And what I talk about with that is when you're working with mottling, you kind of see those tiny little edges of the mottle throughout the skin, which actually give the appearance of veins. And I like that look a little bit better, but I'm doing this for the purpose of everyone. Someone who really wants to do veins, let's go for it. So I'm getting out my little, this thing, palette, and I've got my vein blue. Now, just for the purpose of things, I am going to do some red. My red is nearly out. That's all right. I've got a little one here. I'm going to do some little red ones, but normally I wouldn't. Definitely in the ears, though, I think it's going to be good because, as we saw with Amani, he's definitely had some, really bold veins in his ears. But for the sake of you guys, I'm going to do the red as well. Now, for our heat setters, when you're making up a vein blue, I always use a phthalo blue. So you'll get your phthalo blue 02. Just do, just a smidge and put it in your palette. And a green, the phthalo green. I think it's 04. If you give me a millisecond, I'll see what it is. Okay, so like I said, it's just use a little smidge of the phthalo blue and then the same sort of amount of that phthalo green. Mix it together and you'll get a beautiful turquoise color just like this Magical Realism veins. So that is how I make my veins when I'm working with Genesis colors, or you can use the Genesis vein blue. It's a little bit darker than doing the turquoise sort of blue, but it still gets the same effect. The main thing you need to know is you need to have a nice translucent look. So with everything we do, have some test limbs close by, have some paper towel, so you can, really get your translucent look before you put it like pencil to paper, so to speak, or paintbrush to baby. So that's what you do if you are a heat setter. And, make sure, just like exactly what we're going to do, make sure to follow the technique of a really translucent look to get the best aspects and making sure to blend those edges. That's very, very important. So I'm going to get a nice fine brush. This one looks like one I want to use. And for this, I'm going to use 5 drops of the vein. And 5 drops of the thinning. and then about 10 drops of the water. Just give that a mix. It'll be, if you're using magical realism paints, it'll be a really nice aqua blue. It's really pretty. So, like I've said before, let's test this out. So, draw the line on your testing limb or even your paper. And once you've got the line there, then blend it. Now, this color is really, really, really fine. The way I've done it there is really, really light. And why I've done it so light is because some people go scary with the veins. So just like we've done everything else, we need to go gradual, okay? Now I can see this is really, really light, but I'm still not prepared to add to it as yet. If you, like I've said before, if you put the paint on and you're feeling like it's really not doing what you would like it to do, then add a little bit more vein blue, but I think we should really work with it first for sure. Now I'm going to stand up so I can give you a better view of what I'm doing. Okay, so making sure that there's no excess paint on there, I'm going to do a nice little vein down here on his arm there. Just, I don't know if you can just see it there, it's just like a little V. So I do that and I just pounce over just gently. Now that is not really visible, but I don't expect it to be. I like to go over it about 3 times. So over it again and again and again. So you can see that there, but we have to make sure we blend it. There's nothing worse than seeing a reborn baby that has veins that just stop like a roadblock. They don't go any further. So this is really, really light. I don't know how well you can see it, but I personally like it just really fine. Yep, you can see it there, just that V. Okay, now some people will say, there goes Annette with her signature V's. But if you even look at Amani's veins, a lot of them came down into a V. Oh, actually, it's more of a Y, really. So, you know, I think always the best aspect of finding like the true look of veining is to definitely look at real babies on Google. Every time you will get that sort of look. Now, I'm not going to sit here all day showing you every single vein. I'm just going to do a few that I think I like to put in, and you can work out from there. So definitely I like putting the one on the wrist like you just saw there, and I like to do it in like a little Y. There's not many on the arm that I would suggest. Sometimes I would suggest people put a couple of little lines just down in this part of our elbow there, but not necessarily. I'm not going to do it. Sometimes even on the top of the hand, which I think I might do that. And again, I'm going to do a Y and just go over it and over it again. So 1, 2, 3. You definitely need a nice fine brush for doing your veins. This is going to be ultra fine. I don't know how well you can see it again there. Now, one thing, I'm going to get my test limb and show you. When you're actually doing your vein, you need to, I don't know how well this is going to show, but you need to barely touch the skin. Maybe I'll get up closer. Yes, that's what I will do. So I'll just blend that out. This doesn't need to look like anything, so I do not care if it comes on thick or thin. I'm just going to show you how barely I touch the skin. So it's just with that tip I hardly go really hard with it. It's just there, that line. Now, if you're going to push down hard like this, you're going to get a much thicker line. I don't know if that is visible there. It is. It's a much thicker line here than my thin one. Now, I find that with everything, like when we're doing nails or anything that takes a little bit, even the creases, especially when we're doing hair or eyebrows, you need to only just use that tip of that brush. And the best way to do that is to somehow control your arm. If you say lean your elbow on your table like this, then your arm is supported and you can focus a little bit more. I then like to also have my corner of my hand set in place somewhere, so my elbow and my corner of my hand, so then it's just my hand that's doing the work. I then find I can get free movement and control. Obviously keep your other hand holding the kit. Make sure your hands are always clean, guys. Obviously you can wear cotton gloves, or as long as they're washed, you're fine. But yeah, as you can see, I've got more control with my hand, and I'm not necessarily as shaky. People will always be shaky because, you know, we all got different health ailments, but I always find that having that kind of support makes it a lot easier. So just a nice line. See, I can control it and I can barely touch. Hopefully that works for you. It's just a little bit of advice there. So I won't do the other arm because I'll do that after the video. With the feet, like we saw with Amani's feet, he had a lot of veining along this sort of edge of his chunky little feet, just like this baby. So just do some, you know, lines. You can do little V's, little Y's. I'm just going to do some random lines. Again, I don't need to focus on it too much because I do, it's not something I really want to have a lot on this little baby. So just gently dabbing on your blending brush. And obviously, like I said before, go over your lines a few times. So like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And leave like a second. I didn't say before with the heat setters, obviously when you're mixing your paint, you're going to add in your odorless solvent. Just add it little bit by little bit and do your practice on your either your Teslim or your paper towel to make sure it's not too dark. And then you'll be doing the same sort of thing, just applying it very finely and blending it out. When I'm doing heat set, I always blend out with a cosmetic wedge. But if you want to use these blending brushes, you can as well. Okay, so it's ever so fine there, but I'm going to go over and over and over that until I'm happy. I also like to do a couple of veins just in this arch here of the foot. I think that's always cute. I did take some pictures of underneath Amani's foot on that particular day, but they were dirty because he'd been outside. So I thought, well, I didn't have time to clean them. With babies, you don't have time because they lose interest, and I would have never got him to stay still again. But he did definitely have some tiny veins just in this area here. So as for the aspect of the rest of the leg, I'm not going to put any more there. In the past, I might have done a couple of little veins coming out of the side of the leg there, or even a longer one up here, because sometimes you do see that leg vein up the top. That's up to you. So I probably won't do that, but I'm just showing you the basic aspects at the moment. I definitely found with Amani that he had sort of some veins in this area, or one side was more prominent than the other. So I'm going to do those two veins there, and then we're going to switch to the red and do a little bit of the capillaries in the ears. So just the top one. Again, I'm definitely going to go with a V sort of look. And you might be able to see that just here. Okay, so just going to blend that. And then I'm going to go over it again. Now, like I said before, the best thing I love about using this really light translucent vein color is I can then control my veins. So as you saw on Amani's skin, some veins were more prominent than others, but others you could still see that were there. So with this, I can control it, meaning if I want it to be a little bit darker, I just have to paint over it again and blend it and keep doing that until I'm happy. Now I'll do this one last time, just because I really want you guys to be able to see it. And it's hard enough seeing videos as it is. These little tiny aspects of the video. Okay, so I'll bring this over and show you. Oops, knock my table. And you can see, hopefully just there, where I have included that vein, which looks like a bit of a Y shape. So like I said, I'm going to do another one on the other side. Gee, I'm knocking things over here. I'm going to do another one on the other side. Oops, fix my seat. But now we're going to go into those really tiny red capillaries. So I'm going to go with the red. I'm just going to give that a little bit of a mix up. Now, as best as you can, you really need something ultra fine and brush wise for this. So I'm just going to go for this. It's not really an ultra fine brush as such, but it has got a really tight tip on it. So I like that one. So I'm just going to go with one drop of the red. And I'm going to go with one drop of the thinning. And I'll get some water as well. I'll just get like 5 drops of water. Now that's a really light mix. You can see my colours there. But I just want it to be really light, remember? So, just coming to his ear. We'll see. Actually, I might do it on the testing limb first, because I do want it. Because if you looked at the micro veins, the capillaries in Amani's ears, they were quite prominent. They were quite sharp. So I want that look, but not for it to look like someone's gone on there with red biro. Yeah, I think that is great. Okay, so let's have a look. Again, hopefully I won't knock everything over. I'm good at that. See in his ear there. Just do some fine lines. In the ear. You can see them there. Just really fine. When you're looking at veins, they're often like linked together, like a little river, which is like a little Y or V. So you can do that too. Oh, my seat the lid keeps coming off my seat. So then, of course, I'm still going to blend, but blend very, very gently. That's really cool. So, and also Amani had it in this part of his ear as well. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go back, do all the bluing up on the veins, on all the limbs. I'm going to do more red inside the ears, and I might put a little bit of red also, some little red capillaries along the side of his foot here. So once I have done, which will be in a millisecond for you, I'll show you what they will look like. Okay guys, I hope you went really well with that veining. It's, like I said, it's not my favorite thing about reborning, and I really love the mottling technique that does bring out a veining look. But it did look good. I did like the end result of what came out in this beautiful little baby. You can even see a little vein there. So good, so cute. Anyway, so now we're going to get into mottling. So that's very exciting. Now, when we get to mottling, some people don't like mottling. Now remember, when you looked at those pictures of Amani, he really didn't have too much mottling. So this is up to you, whether you want your baby to have a lot of mottling or whether you just want the mottling to be in key areas of the baby and then the rest just to be a colour. So to start you off with mottling, I'm going to first show you how to do a mottling sponge. Now, when you're mottling, it's really, really, really important to get a sponge that is very dense. This is a horrible colour black sponge, which really annoys me. But anyway, it is one of the teardrop makeup sponges. You can also get them in a gourd shape. If you don't use these, I recommend the sponges I sell, the cosmetic wedges, the jumbo ones. They're really dense and that makes for a really great mottling. If they're not dense and they're weak, you'll find that the mottling won't work. It just won't come up. No matter what you do, you might see a little bit here and there, but it really gets frustrating. So you will need, like I said, a mottling, sorry, not a mottling, but a dense, very dense makeup sponge. And what you need to do, I'm going to come in closer, is you need a pair of tweezers, a good pair of tweezers, not anything weak. I've tried it with weak tweezers before and they just drive you insane. So I'm going to bring it up here, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to see what I'm doing okay, because it is black, it is so dark. So basically you just get in deep, grab some and pluck it out. Now you can see there that there is a nice hole in there, and that's what we want, nice deep holes. If it doesn't come out deep like this one I've just done beside it, just sort of get in there a little bit deeper and pull in a bit more, just a little bit more, which will make a nice deep hole. So you just keep going around digging out pieces, making them deeper if you have to. Now, when you're working with mottling, it can be in any shape. So you can do lots of little tiny holes. You can do lots of big ones. You can do big and small. But generally I'll do about the same size. There's a few different colours that are coming through that we're going to be doing in the mottling. So when we're doing the different colours, different shapes are good, but yeah, just trying to keep around the same. So I'm just doing this rather quick so I can show you. So that's basically what a mottling sponge should look like. So you can do that yourself from home. Aussie Reborn Supplies does sell a set of 2 mottling sponges already mottled, ready for you to go, which some people like to, you know, take the whole thought process out of, which is okay as well. So let's get our seat back here. So we've got our palette again ready to go, and we're going to use the Phthalo Blue now. So if you're working with Genesis paints, you can use Phthalo Blue 02, or you can also use Ultramarine Blue. That's okay as well. And what you'll be doing is just taking one swipe from your flat brush, so something like a brush like this, and you'll do one swipe, put it in your palette well, and then fill the rest of that area with your odorless solvent. So for Magical Realism paint artists, you're going to use 2 drops of blue, 4 drops of thinning, and then we're going to fill the water well with water, or the rest of the well with water. And just give that a light mix. So as always, I know I'm a bit repetitive, but sometimes people need that repetitive reminder. So that's why I tell you every time what you have to do, just in case we forget. So test your colour on a paper towel to see its translucency, that you're happy with it. I'm pretty happy with it. I always do suggest to do it on a testing limb as well. And yeah, that's pretty good. Let's just get my blender and we'll do it with the actual sponge. So what you do is just paint over the mottle with your blue, and then you'll be pouncing on. So looking at that, if you can see it there, I think it might be a little bit blue. One thing we don't want is our babies to look like aliens. But we do also have to remember that we're going to be blending it as well. I'm feeling it's just a smidge blue. So I'm just going to add a little bit more water. Not too much, it won't need much. Also, I don't know if I've spoken about these before, but these pipettes are just fantastic. So if you make a colour and you make it way too dark, like this one has already been using blue before, I'll just suck up some of the blue, put it in another one of the wells, and then fill that with water again, and it's nice and easy. You don't waste any paint or anything like that. So I'll check that. No, this is itchy. Actually get the excess paint off. And again, yeah, that's much better. It was like probably about 1 ml of water, 2 ml tops. It wasn't much, and it just sort of, you can see it down there. It's much less full on. And just when we're doing the blending, just a gentle blend over the top so we don't ruin the mottle. We need to keep that mottle looking in there. Okay, so now we can go ahead, get it, and do the mottling. Now, I'm going to show you what to do when you don't want an area mottled. Okay, now I'm just going to go over the head like I would generally. I like to start at the back like we always say, so we can see what we're doing. Blend it in. And hopefully you'll be able to see very, very light mottling in the back there. It's ever so light, but you can see all the little dots, which is so cool. Okay, I'll keep going. And blend it out. So that's all you have to do there. But let's say I'm going to leave this head for a little minute after I blend it. let's say we're working on an arm, okay, and you say to yourself, I really don't want this to be mottled, or I would like a bit of mottling up here, but this area here I would like to not mottle. So what you do there, just still using your mottling sponge, unless you really don't want any mottling. If you don't want any mottling, then I'll tell you what to do in a minute. So let's say I'm going to have mottle up the top. So some mottling up the top. That's all mottled. But this, I don't want mottled. So you press harder. And by pressing harder, what we're doing is we're just putting the colour there. We're laying the colour there. So if you just see this without me blending there, there's the mottle, and this area here is just coloured. So it's just going to get that nice blue hue that we're doing within that blue mottle. So don't skip the step. Don't skip the step at all. If you don't want any mottling at all, then I suggest you get a cosmetic wedge, tear the end off it, put your paint on and directly pounce on and blend out. So we still have to do this colour. No matter what, we still have to do this colour. But to not have the it's really hard to see at the moment, but to not have the mottle, you just sort of, like I said, press harder, which will then sort of release the mottle. Like it'll press so hard, compress it, that it'll be a flat surface. There might be a few little marks in it, but that's okay. Like not marks, but how do we say it? Like textures, different little textures. So it won't be just flat. There'll be still some little textures, but they won't be so mottled, if you know what I mean. Some people love to put the mottling on their hands and things. So, you know, work with your key areas that you'd really like. So let's say for me on little baby Liam here, I'm going to do some mottling on the hand. Now remember, the surface is really different on the hand because there's a lot of razors and it's a little area, so it may not come up as well as you hope. Put some in the hand there. And also, if you're in an area where you just can't get your sponge to, just make sure there's no excess paint on your brush, but just sort of brush in there. Just give a little brush. And then when we come in and blend, just very gently blend the area. Okay, so then keep going with the rest of your limb or arm or leg. So basically this is all we're doing on this layer. A blue mottle, I'll just blend that in. So it's all blended. Okay, so your homework now is to go and do the whole kit with the mottling. Sort of don't focus around the mouth, you can leave that out, but if a little bit gets on it, don't stress. But other than that, go over the whole entire kit, and I will show you my results. Okay, guys. So how'd you go there? Hope you went okay. I'm finding my little Liam is looking pretty good. I'm really satisfied with his look and his colouring. So, I mean, that's all that matters, right? What we think of our own baby. Right. Okay, so anyway, for today we've got one more part of the lesson for part 4, and that is doing the yellow mottling. So similar to the blue, actually very similar, pretty much the same. We're going to do I'm just going to mix it up and get straight into it. So as it is, I'm still following the Magical Realism book. 2 yellow, 4. Okay. So we're going 2 yellow, so I'll give this a bit of a shake. So yeah, hoping everyone is doing really well. So this episode, of course, has been veining, the blue mottle, and now we're doing the yellow mottle. The next episodes, we're going to further go with different colour mottling. We're also going to be working on some of the features, some more into the mouth and the ears. So stay tuned for that. I'll get to it as absolutely quick as I can. So 2 drops of the yellow. And then 4 of the thinning. Sorry if you can hear the music in the background. My son is in the next room and he's listening to Beat It by Michael Jackson. So you probably can hear that. Hopefully I can tone that down for the video. So now we need to add a bit of water to that well. I'll just give it a bit of a mix. Mix that up a little bit like that there. And then add the water. Okay, now it's still just a subtle look. All these colours work together, obviously, to make all the skin tones like we have, to bring all those colours up. So let me just have a look. Oh, where's my test limb? It was here a second ago. I kicked it out. Here it is. One I prepared earlier. Okay, so just have a look at that. Blending. Okay, so I think that's a little bit yellow, so I'm going to add a little bit more water to that. Just fill the water well all the way to the top. Now I'll get a new mottling sponge. Got my mottling sponge, one I prepared earlier. So it is exactly the same as we did before. So just basically going over your entire kit, doing the mottle, and if you don't want mottle in a certain area, then just don't do it. Just press down hard to do the nice even layer. The best thing I wanted to point out to you guys about the in-between classes. So at the moment, if you're waiting for my classes to come on, it's really, really good because we're literally giving plenty of time for that paint to cure before we add to the next layer. But if you're doing this up to date and you're going to go straight on to the next classes, please remember you really need to give your kit time to cure. Don't just go from layer to layer and thinking, oh, this is great because it's air dry paint, it's drying and I'm going to move on. It doesn't exactly work that way. You still need to have some curing time. So normally I suggest doing a few layers, and then after doing those few layers, letting it sit. Now, people, obviously, we only have to let it sit for around 20 minutes is the basis, the minimum. But, you know, I even like to leave it overnight. I really do suggest that to people. I mean, I find in the reborn community quite often that a lot of people love to rush things. It's just so exciting to move forward and see this little baby come to life. And I think we all do it at some stage that we just get so excited and we keep going. But this time I'd like to suggest not. I'd like you to take your time, make sure the kit cures. At the end of this whole process, we'll be doing the matte varnish, and you know, with the matte varnish, it's good to really give a good day's curing time and then add another layer. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, do you want the paint to, you know, adhere really, really well, or do you want there to be possible problems? So that's my advice anyway. Now for our heat setters, anyone who's doing heat set, you'll be using Genesis Yellow right now. So just like with the blue, just a swipe of the Genesis Yellow and then put that into your little paint well and then fill it up with the odorless solvent. Easy as that. Now this yellow, I should just show you here. Let me just blend this out. I'm just going ahead and doing the mottling as just going over doing the whole thing, because that's all we have to do. But I'm just going to show you the kind of color you will expect. This is the kind of yellow. It's, I mean, like that. It's just a light sort of very translucent, like we always do. That's the way it's got to go. And but I always suggest, if you can't see it on your kit, you know, press it onto your paper towel, and then you'll see it and you'll know that it is making up layers of your paint. So don't be discouraged if you can't see it as much as you'd like. It'll be there, just like a little secret. Blending really well too. I found, like when I was working with my blue, you know, it's not enough just to pounce over it a few times. Sometimes you have to pounce over it, say like 10 times like that in the one spot, just to really blend those edges. Okay. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to, of course, do the whole kit. Again, you don't focus around the mouth or anything, but if you do get some on the lips, that's fine, it won't affect it. Oops. So do the whole kit. Also, again, in your areas that you can't really get into your mottle, you know, say the nostril, just give a little dab in there. In the ears, if there's certain areas in the ears that you can't get to do the mottle in, just dab it with your brush and then pounce it out. Now that's just because, of course, we don't need mottling everywhere, but we still need that shade of you know, whatever color we're up to make up the end result of the skin. So just go ahead and do that. I'm going to do the rest of the Liam kit now, and then I'll show you my results at the end, and yeah, we'll take it from there. So how do you feel you went? I mean, I think my Liam is looking pretty good. I'm really, really happy with it. Definitely up close and personal. I can see so much detail and so much colour within the baby, and that's what you want to see. But at the same point, it's just a soft and subtle texture. So you've got to remember that. Don't be discouraged, but you will see colour on your kit at this stage. Some of the best ways to tell always, as you can see, that there's a difference here. This is unpainted and this is painted. And you can see by the shadowing and everything throughout there, you can see blues and yellows, reds. There's all different colours coming into that, and that's basically what you want. It's kind of like a soft rainbow back there, really, isn't it? But anyway, that's where we stop. That's where we're going to leave off today. Like I said, I will get back to you and we'll start the next few layers. There's more layers of mottling, and we're doing some of the red throughout the nostrils and the mouth and the ears, and other features will go along the way. So this is the end of, what is it? Class number 4. And then we'll go on to class number 5. So thanks everyone for being very patient with me. I hope you're enjoying everything that we're doing, and I hope everything's pretty explanatory to you. Don't forget, if it's not explanatory to you, just ask me a question in the comments below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Make sure you've subscribed to me. Don't forget, those who are in my YouTube memberships, you guys get the first view, so they get to watch this up to 48 hours before I set it public. So that's really, really exciting, and I've found that those members really love to get in as quick as they can. So thanks very much everyone. Again, love you heaps, and we'll see you for class number 5. Bye.